Hello, everyone. I'm Jake.
And I'm Ella.
And today we're talking about three of the most confusing phrases in English: should have, could have, and would have.
You know, most people think they already know these, but then they say something like this.
A friend of mine was telling me about a bad day at work. He said, I should have left earlier, and then I should have made it on time.
Did you catch the mistake?
He used should have twice, but the second one is wrong.
I should have left earlier. That is perfect. Leaving earlier was the right thing to do. He is judging his own decision. That is should have.
But what about the second one?
I should have made it on time. Making it on time is not a decision. It is not something you judge. It is a result. It is what would have happened if he had left earlier.
So it should be, if I had left earlier, I would have made it on time.
Exactly, and that one small difference, that is the whole story of today's episode.
Should have, could have, would have. Three phrases, three completely different meanings.
By the end of this episode, you will know exactly when to use each one.
Welcome to the English Speaking Show.
We help you speak English with confidence in real life every day.
So let's start with should have.
Should have looks at the past and makes a judgment. It says that was the right thing to do or that was the wrong thing to do.
So it is always about a decision, something someone did or didn't do.
And usually there is a feeling of regret behind it. You wish things had been different.
Like, I should have called my father back that evening. I kept telling myself I would do it later, and then the week passed.
You knew what the right thing was. You didn't do it, and now you carry that feeling.
And it works the other way, too, when you did something and wish you hadn't.
Yes, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have sent that message. It happened, but it was the wrong choice.
I have a few of those moments.
We all do. And there is one expression you will hear all the time. Someone gives you an unexpected gift and you say, "Oh, you shouldn't have."
But that doesn't sound like a criticism.
It isn't. It means you really didn't need to do this. I'm touched. It is one of the warmest things you can say to someone.
Same words, completely different feeling.
And that is true for should have in general. It is not always criticism. If a friend travels alone late at night and you say, "You should have called me when you arrived," that is not criticism, that is worry.
Or like, you should have told me you were not feeling well. I would have come.
Exactly, that is pure care. The feeling comes from the relationship, not the grammar.
Now, listen to this sentence. The package should have arrived by now.
There is no regret in that.
None at all. It's just a logical expectation. If everything went normally, the package is here. No blame, no guilt.
So when I hear by now, it is usually expectation, not regret.
Hold on to that, and you will sometimes hear people say ought to have instead of should have. I ought to have called. Same meaning, just a little more formal. You don't need to use it, but now you will recognize it.
Good to know. So should have is not always heavy. It can be care, it can be just a logical expectation.
Exactly. It all depends on the situation, but at its heart, should have judges the past.
Should have judges. I like that.
Ella, I heard someone say this the other day. They ate a big meal and felt sick after, and they said, I couldn't have eaten so much.
Couldn't have?
Couldn't have, but they did eat it. They were sitting right there.
Ah, that is the mistake. They ate it, so it was not impossible. They're just regretting it.
So the correct sentence is, I shouldn't have eaten so much.
Shouldn't have means I did it and it was the wrong choice. Couldn't have means it was impossible. I could not have done it even if I wanted to.
So you cannot say couldn't have if you actually did the thing.
If you did it, you own it. That is shouldn't have.
Fair enough. And there's something else I hear people say. Should have called. Could have told me.
You have heard that?
Yes, many times. Is that right?
No, in fast speech, should have becomes should've, and should've sounds a little like should of, but of can never follow should, could, or would. Always say have. Should have, could have, would have.
Not should of. Should have.
Always should have.
All right, so we understand should have. Now, could have. How is that different, Ella?
It's lighter. It does not judge, it simply observes. The option was there, and it was not taken.
Like, I could have taken the earlier train, but I didn't.
Exactly. You had the choice, you had the ability, you just went a different way. No judgment in that sentence, just an observation.
So, could have never judges.
Not the way should have does. Listen to these two sentences. You should have told me. You could have told me.
They feel different.
Very different. You should have told me. That is heavy. It means you did something wrong. There was an obligation.
And you could have told me?
Softer. The option was there, I would have appreciated it, but it is not the end of the world.
So, could have is the gentler version of should have.
Same situation, but one judges and one just observes.
I think I have been using should have too much. When I'm frustrated with someone, I say, you should have done this, you should have done that. But sometimes I just mean, you could have.
Most people do that. Should have sounds stronger than you intend. Could have often says exactly what you mean without the pressure.
Like, you could have at least warned me.
Or you could have tidied up a bit. You could have called first. These are gentle complaints, not accusations. That is the beauty of could have.
Less pressure. Same point.
And speaking of pressure, something happened to me last week. I was rushing down the stairs at the office and I slipped. I was fine, but my colleague looked at me and said, Ella, you could have really hurt yourself.
Could have hurt yourself, not should have.
Right, because it was not about a wrong decision. It was about something dangerous that almost happened. I was lucky, and could have captures that. The near miss, the close call.
So could have also works when something bad almost happened but didn't.
Exactly. You were lucky, and could have reminds you of that.
Now, could have also works when you're not sure about something, right?
Yes, say your friend is late and you don't know why. You start thinking, he could have missed the bus, he could have got stuck in traffic, he could have forgotten.
You're not saying which one is true, you're just listing possibilities.
And you can use might have in exactly the same way. He might have missed the bus. Same meaning, could have and might have are interchangeable there.
And couldn't have, that's when something was impossible, right?
Yes, I couldn't have arrived any earlier. The roads were terrible. It was not a choice, it was genuinely not possible.
But couldn't have also works as a compliment, doesn't it?
It does, and this one surprises people. I couldn't have asked for a better team. She couldn't have been happier.
How is that a negative structure but a positive meaning?
Because when something is already at the absolute best, nothing better was possible. So couldn't have means this is as good as it gets. It's actually very warm when you use it that way.
I couldn't have done it without you.
Exactly. Pure gratitude.
So could have observes.
Could have observes.
Now would have, and this one is different from both of them.
Different how?
Should have and could have can stand alone. Would have almost always needs a partner, a condition, something that sets up the imagined scenario.
Like, if I had done this, would have done that?
Exactly. Would have describes what would have happened in a different version of the past. You're imagining a past that did not happen, and you're asking what would the result have been.
Like, if I had left earlier, I would have made it on time. That's the sentence from the beginning of the episode.
And now you understand why. Leaving earlier is the condition. Making it on time is the result. The result lives in would have.
Right. If she had studied harder, she would have passed.
Exactly. If he had known about the meeting, he would have come. The structure is always the same: if plus had, and then would have.
And the if part, can I say if I would have known?
No, never. This is one of the most common mistakes in English. Would have never goes in the if part. The if part always uses had. If I had known, if she had stayed, if they had called.
If I had known, not if I would have known.
Always had in the if part. Would have only lives in the result.
What about I would have called you, but my phone died? There is no if there.
Same idea. The but does the same job as if. It explains the condition that stopped you. I would have called, but something got in the way.
I would have helped, but I didn't know you needed it.
Exactly. And sometimes the condition is so obvious you don't even need to say it. I would have loved to go to that concert.
There is no if and no but in that sentence.
Because both people understand, if I had been able to, if I had known about it. The condition is in the air. You don't need to say it.
I would have said yes, meaning if you had asked me.
Exactly. Would have can float when the missing piece is obvious.
Now, when do I use would have and when do I use could have in a conditional sentence?
If we had left earlier, we would have caught the train. That's certain. You're sure you would have caught it.
And could have?
Different. If we had left earlier, we could have caught the train. That's possible. There was a chance, not a guarantee.
Right. Would have, definitely. Could have, maybe.
That one difference changes the whole feeling of the sentence.
And wouldn't have, that's just the negative.
The imagined negative result: I wouldn't have gone if I had known it would be that bad. She wouldn't have said that if she had known how much it hurt.
So, would have imagines. It shows you where a different past would have led.
Would have imagines. And one quick thing before we move on. After would have, could have, should have, the verb must always be in its past participle form.
Gone, left, done, called?
That's right. Always the past participle, never the base form. I should have go, wrong. I should have gone, right. I could have leave, wrong. I could have left, right.
Always the past participle, never the base form.
So, should have judges, could have observes, would have imagines.
Should have, judges. Could have, observes. Would have, imagines.
Say that one more time to yourself, and it will stay with you. Before we discuss some tricky situations, friends, write one sentence in the comments using should have, could have, or would have. Writing it yourself forces your brain to use the grammar, not just understand it. That is when it really sticks.
Now, 3 situations that confuse even advanced learners. These are not basic mistakes. These are moments where the language behaves in a way you might not expect.
What is the first one?
Could have for speculation. You already know you use it when you are not sure what happened, listing possibilities. But here's where it gets tricky. Imagine your wallet is missing and you say to your roommate, "You could have moved it when you were cleaning."
That sounds like blame.
But the person saying it just meant maybe you moved it by accident. That's one possible explanation. They were not accusing anyone.
Same sentence, 2 completely different meanings depending on how the listener hears it.
Exactly. When something is missing or something went wrong and you say could have to someone directly, they may hear an accusation, even if you meant a simple guess.
So the sentence is not wrong, but I need to be careful about who I'm saying it to and when.
In those sensitive moments, it helps to add something like, "I'm not blaming you, I'm just thinking out loud." That way, the listener knows it's speculation, not blame.
The words are the same, the situation changes everything.
What is the second tricky one, Jake?
This one is about wouldn't have. Listen to these 2 sentences. I didn't say that. I wouldn't have said that.
They feel different.
Very different. I didn't say that is a simple fact. It's a denial. It happened in the real past, and I'm saying, no, that was not me.
And I wouldn't have said that?
That's hypothetical. It means, in that imagined situation, I would not have said it. It's not a denial of reality. It's a statement about what I would have done in a different version of events.
Right. So if someone accuses me of saying something and I want to deny it, I say, I didn't say that, not I wouldn't have said that.
I wouldn't have said that actually means maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. But if I were in that situation, that's not something I would say. It's almost like you're leaving the door open.
So using wouldn't have when you mean didn't actually makes you sound less certain, less confident in your denial.
Exactly. Didn't is clear. Wouldn't have is imagined. Very different things.
And the third tricky situation?
This one is just for recognition. You'll hear it in films, in books, in formal conversations. Sometimes people say, had I known you were coming, I would have made dinner.
Had I known. There's no if there.
Right. It's another way of saying, if I had known. You drop the if and move had to the front. Had I known. Had she stayed. Had they called.
Same meaning, just more formal.
Right. You do not need to use it yourself, but now when you hear it, you won't be confused.
Had I known this earlier, I would have felt much more confident watching English films.
Exactly. And now you do know, so the next film, you're ready.
All right, let's see everything we learned today in a real conversation. Jake and I are going to play two old friends catching up over coffee. Jake is Mike. I am Sarah.
You know, Sarah, I have been in a strange mood lately. I keep thinking about decisions I made, things I wish had gone differently.
Like what?
You remember the Henderson offer 2 years ago? The marketing director role.
Of course. You talked about nothing else for 2 weeks.
I should have taken it. The salary was good, the team was great, the opportunity was right there in front of me, and I just said no.
What made you say no in the end?
Honestly, I got scared. I told myself the commute was too long, but that was just an excuse.
Mike, you could have talked to them about it, asked if there was any flexibility with working from home. They might have said yes.
I know, I should have at least asked, but I just panicked and walked away without even trying to negotiate.
Do you know what happened to the person who ended up taking the role?
Yes, that is the painful part. He was promoted within a year. If I had taken that role, I would have been in a completely different position right now.
You could have been leading that whole division by now.
Exactly. And here's what really gets me. I had 2 full weeks to decide. I could have called people. I could have done my research. I could have asked for advice. I did none of that.
You could have called me, you know. I would have helped you think it through.
I know, I should have called you. That was the first mistake.
So what did you learn from all of this?
That fear is a terrible advisor, and that I should trust the people around me more.
That is growth, Mike. That is not nothing.
I suppose, but I still think about it. If I had just been a little braver, everything would have been different.
Maybe. Or maybe something even better is coming. You don't know yet.
When did you get so wise?
I've always been this wise. You just never called to find out.
Fair point. Completely fair point.
And for what it's worth, I couldn't have asked for a better friend to have this conversation with, even on a Tuesday morning over cold coffee.
Oh, Sarah, you shouldn't have said that. Now I feel even worse about the job.
Drink your coffee. It should have gone cold by now with all this talking.
It has. It absolutely has.
All right, let's step out of the role play. Did you notice how naturally should have, could have, and would have appeared in that conversation? When Sarah said, you could have been leading that whole division by now, why could have and not would have?
Because Sarah is not certain. She is saying it was possible. There was a chance. If she were certain, she would have said, you would have been leading it.
Would have is the certain result. Could have is the possible one. That one difference changes the whole feeling of the sentence.
And at the very end, I couldn't have asked for a better friend.
Couldn't have, meaning nothing better was possible. That is the emphatic form, pure warmth. Not impossibility, just the absolute best.
And, oh, Sarah, you shouldn't have said that.
Shouldn't have, not because it was morally wrong, but because now Mike feels worse. Completely different feeling depending on the situation.
Every one of those moments, natural, real, connected, that is what today's episode has been building toward. All right, let's bring everything together. Should have, could have, would have. 3 phrases, 3 completely different meanings.
Should have looks at the past and makes a judgment. It says that was the right thing to do or that was the wrong thing to do. The feeling behind it is usually regret or care or a simple logical expectation.
Could have looks at the past and observes. The option was there. The ability was there. It just wasn't taken. No judgment, just an open door you walked past.
And would have imagines. It shows you what would have happened in a different version of the past. If things had gone another way, this is where that different path would have led.
Should have judges. Could have observes. Would have imagines.
Say that one more time to yourself and it will stay with you. Now, your comment challenge. Write 2 sentences. One with should have, something you genuinely wish had been different in your life, and one with would have, what would have happened if things had gone differently. Be honest, be specific. The more real it is, the more you will learn from writing it.
And if you found this episode useful, if something finally clicked today, subscribe to the English Speaking Show. We are here every week helping you speak English with confidence in real life every day. Thank you for spending this time with us today. We will see you in the next one.
Take care, everyone. Bye for now.